Yes, you can have this book. It's Shocking Truth, Open Letter to President Hakainde Hichilema, Life or Death. CC to former President Edgar Changwa. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou shalt giveth him not warning, his blood will I require at your hand. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18. So that my soul chooseth struggling and death rather than my life. Job 7:15. That's a choice that I made in order to deliver this message to Hakainde Hichilema and to all African leaders. Support this ministry by buying this book and many other books. The Open Letter, The Evidence of Truth. Good evening, good evening. I want to greet all African leaders and seek your attention, but more especially the Zambian president, who is a recipient of the warning letters and the 12 volumes open letter to him in regard of what is happening in the world today. I don't mind to those that feel prophecy does not apply today, when in the actual sense, it is the time when prophets, those that stands for truth, must stand even when they are rejected, even when they are smeared, even when no matter how much people may try to discredit God's warning in order to build a new modern world that believes in donor aid, that robs our sovereignty as Africans. I want to warn to say, when I wrote volume 11 of The Shocking Truth, Open Letter to President Hakainde Hichilema, where I said choose life or death, it is this open letter that reminds me today to say what is happening in Iran is soon coming to Africa. And we should not forget to say Gaddafi faced the same attack from America under President Barack Obama. Even when Gaddafi pleaded with Obama to say, tell the NATO to stop their attack on me, because Obama was just used against his brother. Right at the moment, we have Burkina Faso President IBRAHIM TRAORE, who is the target. Now they want to make sure that they finish off some other superpowers like Iran, so that they test their strength and they threaten us with fear. As I said last year when I was conducting the 90 days national prayer, Africa Nationals Prayer, Africa Unite, I was saying it's either Africa Unite now under Donald Trump after cutting the aid. And after I cut the aid, he raised the tariffs. I said it is the only opportunity for Africa to unite, because if they miss this chance, they won't manage to unite. And I see no efforts from mainly other African leaders who are busy depending on America aid, France, Britain. It's a case. In my continued response to CR1, I'm looking for my reading glasses. Yes, I found the reading glasses, and I want to quote this book, and actually on chapter 5, Life and Death. I said, open letter to President HH. Note, first read forward before reading this chapter. His Excellent President Hakainde Hichilema, God is warning both you, Hakainde, former President Lungu, and President Ramaphosa of South Africa that if you refuse to protect God's ministry of prophets, God warns that I have set before you life and death. This warning is not passing judgment, but is done in order for you to choose between life and death. My prayer for all those reading this is, let no one mislead you with claims that everyone dies. Yes, everyone dies, but there is death that is honorable and that is not. The death that comes as punishment from God differs from a full age natural death. If one dies prematurely without eating the labor of his hands, that death is due to the sin of disobeying God's word and his law. What draws the line between life and death is the obedience to the law of God. Honorable death is peaceful after one has enjoyed the labor of his hands, and the other is premature as a result of not obeying God's warning and the law. Let me just jump here. I said, unfortunately, on page 36, I said, unfortunately, as kings surrounded themselves with fortune tellers, witchcraft, the same is happening today as former late President Dr. FTJ Chuluba placed the office of the witch doctor and called it the witch doctor's desk, or the corrupt pastor's desk was the order of democracy. So what is it that I'm trying to explain here? I was warning Hakainde Hichilema against protecting himself with the witch doctors like CR1, because CR1 is acting like a prophet when he sees nothing really. He simply takes analysis on what is happening and what he reads, because when I give them these books, they send it to CR1, and CR1 makes content out of it and claims to have seen prophets when he has not seen anything. So I want to say that Chiluba, when I told him to obey God's word, to take God's agenda, he opposed it by putting the witch doctor's desk. He also put the fake pastor's desk, because he surrounded himself with pastors that talked things that he wanted to hear. And this is exactly what is happening with Hakainde Hichilema today. Hakainde Hichilema has surrounded himself with people like CR1 and other false prophets. And I want to say that for me to come out strongly to warn, to say there is no port that Kaunda left in State House, is just a story created to embed the warning from God. Someone wants to dramatize the death of these 5 presidents. I said, I warned further to say, I hope SDA will not ill-advise both of you and the former President Lungu, as they did to President Sata and Dr. Kethi Kaunda, not to listen to God through visions and dreams, because Mrs. White was the last prophetess, and all her writings are inspired. So I wanted to say, Hakainde Hichilema, we must not be ill-advised by SDA Church, because SDA Church went to President Kaunda and told him to say, he's a false prophet, don't listen to him. He's just misleading you. And this is how I found that I received rejection from Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, even the people that were surrounding him, because of the falsehood from SDA. Again, when Sata was partially healed after suffering an assassination attempt on 22nd January 2012, this is when I abandoned the 90 days national prayer, which had started with 10 days in Kanyama, after having bullet shots at my home in Komboka. And when I was going to the prayer place, my tires were suffered punctures, because there were some nails that were placed there so that I should not reach on the venue on time. Then I went to State House to say, Esther night, I had punctures on my way to the crusade. Then when I came back at night, there were some 3 gunshots by my window. So a sign that I should not continue with this prayer meeting if Sata does not accept. So I want to say that immediately when I stopped, that was on the 15th of January, it only took 7 days later, Sata suffered an assassination attempt, and it was kept secret. But God revealed to me on the very night. I asked George Chela, is President Sata safe? Then he says, no, he has been reading Times. He was being interviewed by Times magazine, trying to pretend. I pursued that matter until the truth was revealed to me that Sata had erected a tent where he entered just from Kwanzi House. As he enters the State House in his office, he passes through on that lawn. He put a tent where he entered for prayers every morning. But when he entered on that particular day, he did not come out. They tried to call him on phone. The phone was ringing. They went there. They found him unconscious. This is how the Chinese doctors were summoned to come and do it and attend to him. I understand, even when I had a vision, when I saw the eyes of God was looking at the heart of Michael Sata as he was sleeping like this on the bed. Then the voice says, can you look? Then I saw the ray of the eyes of God looking at Michael Sata. Then when I looked, I found Michael Sata was sleeping like this. And because I had people that were telling me information, as they knew that I prophesied about it, that there was a heart transplant that made Michael Sata to struggle at least for another extra 2 years. I sympathized when I saw the wife to Michael Sata holding Michael Sata to parliament in a state that he was not fit even to walk, just to force him to appear to be in good health, when it's not. So that was the result of rejecting God's warning. So today, this warning goes to Hakainde Hichilema. Hakainde Hichilema, if he sees America attacking Iran for the sake of control of oil, America is going to come for Africa. And right now, African countries are quiet when they see America doing these things because they expect America to keep feeding them instead of Africa to claim its natural resources. Africa is being misled by prophets like Siawan that claims to be the donor of power when being used by the same American false Christians that claim to say Donald Trump is a pastor because he wants to take Christianity to Iran. That is not the Christianity of Christ. It's a false Christian faith. So I want to continue to say this prophetic book, it is actually there for everyone who needs truth, for everyone who needs warning, for everyone who needs to know what God says about Africa. Let me read the other few pages that of warning. In this book, on page 130, I quoted some prophets of 1990. I said, since 1990, God's warning in regard to the rise of the Antichrist of Revelation chapter 13 made significant fulfillment as Christian nation decept attempted to raise using rise using President Kaunda's fall in 1991. The rise of Chiluba to power and the declaring of Zambia as a Christian nation in 1991 in fulfillment of Revelation chapter 13, a lamb-like beast nation. So I actually pointed out to say Zambia is a lamb-like beast nation in the fulfillment of Revelation chapter 13 verse 11. Number 3, I said the president's third-term faith prophecy that was opposed by 20 Pentecostal pastors in 2001 failed as foretold. I was actually putting out what was fulfilled by then to President Hakainde Hichilema for him to take examples of how God spoke. I said the rise of Lev Manawasa in 2001 and his prophetic faith in 2008 was another defeat to the Adventist faith that he opposed to dreams. Why I wrote this? Because he's Adventist. And the Adventists, when I told them about the first book that I wrote, they said that visions and dreams, they are no more. Ellen White was the last prophets. All the prophets living today, they are false prophets. So now, they never expected that the vision concerning Manawasa's collapsing and death will be fulfilled. They never also considered in the same vein. I talked about Chuluba's third term and his death also. They never thought it would happen. And number 6, I said the rise of Sata and his death. They never thought it would come to pass. I also talked about number 7. I said President Lungu's continued fight of the Chiluba third term and haunted by Sata's fate still pending needs 90 days prayer to save life during presidency at State House. So now I actually said Lungu spending faith needed the 90 days to save life because he's wounded based on Sata's death. So now, when someone comes and say that, no, all these people, they've died because of the pot that Kaunda dug in State House, it's a lie. Because I was warning this president before they became president, and I told them their fate, and it has been fulfilled. I concluded by warning Hakainde Hichilema, even before the so-called prophet said This was written in 2022 when I gave to Hakainde Chilema through Nevas Mumba. I gave the manuscript through Nevas Mumba, and the final copies which I'm holding, I gave them through the embassy in South Africa 2 years ago. So now, I want to say, when I wrote this to Hakainde Chilema, it was a warning for him to do exactly what God wants him to do. And his continued rejection, it shall meet God's fate. All rejected the call for prayer died as, I say, all that rejected the call for prayer died as they also that seek after my life lay snares for me, and they that seek my heart speak mischievous things and imagine decepts all day long. Psalms 38 verse 12. So David also was crying to say, all those that seek after my life, they put snares. This is not different of what I've been suffering. I was explaining to someone this morning to say, look, the time when I reformed from Seventh-day Adventist, there were people, when I started worshiping home, I worshiped alone. I never invited anyone. People started coming. A brother came and joined me. Then from there, my wife stopped going there because they alleged preached to say, hey, when someone becomes rich, when they are able to buy a truck and so forth, then out using money from Satanism, they are good. They influence people to stop worshiping. They were referring to me because I just recently by then bought a canter from South Africa, and they didn't know where that money came from, but they said it was Satanism money to distort my name. That's how my wife says, no, I cannot continue going to a church where they discuss and preach about my husband, where I know that the money was not from Satanism. So I want to say that when my wife joined me, we continue praying for people who are sick. One of the families, after maybe about 6 or 7 homes, when we are praying door to door, she was sick for 20 years. After praying for her, 5 minutes prayer, she was swollen. The tongue she could not talk. The body was swollen. She spent money going from witch doctor to another witch doctor. But after those prayers, she went back to her place. As it was told us, as they told us to say, once she's healed from a witch doctor, when she enters her home, she starts swelling. By then we found her at a daughter's home, where to the son-in-law. So now, this was a miracle that we received as number one. And another brother who was insane, after appearing on movie TV 2007, they called me for prayers. The man was running terrific speed where you need a vehicle to catch him. We prayed for that person. He got healed. They came with 2 taxis, which we call buses in Zambia, filled with their relatives. They came to join us for prayer. Once they saw that the members were increasing, they started standing on the corners of the roads, waiting for each member, telling them to say, no, where you are going, this man is going to be giving you money because he's a Satanist. His money is from Satan, what and what and what and what. So now, today, I find the same thing. When I started worshiping here in South Africa, I had a 10 days prayer meeting where children were falling around 12 hours. Started with one person, the second person, the third person. When they were falling, I was new in that area. Then when I attended the parents' meeting, they were saying, let's look for sangomas to come and clean the place. So exhaust the place. I said, no. Let me try what God has been showing me in Zambia. Then when we prayed, those children stopped falling. Then I went to the location where they were coming from. I had another 10 days of prayers, and at the gathering that was praying, I was followed to my home where I was renting with a gun at night when I had nothing for a thief to come and grab. And those were people who were sent to avoid me gathering. I started gathering with maybe 2 families or 3 families at another place. Also, those families were used against me. There was some posting on a WhatsApp group of one of the SDA members who claimed that, oh, Mr. Masuka collected money from church members, and that money was meant for building a church, and he used it when there was not even a single offering that I was collecting from any member, and when there was not even a proposed church building site. So SDA has continued to fight me using propaganda smearing of my name. And recently here, I also formed, in fact, in 2022, I had formed a WhatsApp group to teach people how to help one another, to look after one another's brotherhood. Love your neighbors, you love yourself. I had to put people as administrators of that WhatsApp group. They removed me. I don't know how many WhatsApp groups that they've been removing me, even on Facebook groups. So now recently, I tried to organize people to help me build up a nice podcast so that this Unite Africa message can go without resistance, without being hacked, without being demonized. I just find that there were others who were sellout, who were hired to hack me, and they pretended to be people. When one would give you $20 or $40 to say I'm helping, then that person starts bragging on Facebook that I gave him money, and if one has given money, he doesn't need to be controlled. I must not speak the truth. I must divert. I must use a different means. I must claim money for people who want prayers from me. Being advised by people, you may take all those advices as if they are good, whereas they are meant to distort your ministry. So now, what is it that I'm saying? I'm saying God exposes people who fight God's ministry. And I requested President Ramaphosa, President Hakainde Hichilema, and all other presidents to protect God's ministry because of such people who are used by America, who are used by France, because they are using our brethren to distort the truth. We are fighting amongst ourselves as African because we want to put food on the table, because we are used to be given money by donor countries. Listen to this. I said, and Hezekiah received the letter of the hand of the messengers and read, and Hezekiah went up to the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. So I talked about Hezekiah, who was threatened to say, upon receiving the letter, he went and put and displayed that letter on the altar and sought God's protection, and God protected him. So I was calling for Hakainde Hichilema to do the same. And today, I want to say that I'm still saying on chapter 11, I said, make a covenant with God. Okay? I said, His Excellent President Hakainde Hichilema, I urge you to, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the Messiah, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, to make a covenant with God, who is the source of the revelations that has stood the test of time since 1990. I said God wants to make a covenant with all global leaders, starting with UHH, Hakainde Hichilema, former Zambian President Edgar Lungu, and the former Zambian Vice President Nevas Mumba under Mwanawasa. Zambian opposition leaders, members of parliament Fred Mwembe, Hari Kalaba, GBM, Kambwili, Bomani Lusambo, Tasila Lungu, Emmanuel Mwamba, etc. If you accept to protect the ministry of God as a covenant with God, then he will protect you from dying a political death, and economical slavery against Africa shall be avoided in promotion of a fair trade between Europe, America, Zambia, and all third world countries. Now look, I mentioned these people who were contesting. Alas, may he rest in peace. Lungu died and is still in the fridge because he refused to call for prayers. Other opposition leaders, GBM, were arrested. Fred Mwembe arrested just maliciously. Kambwili was arrested. Boman Lusambo arrested and still in detention. Tasila Lungu is facing charges of corruption. Emmanuel Mwamba faced charges of corruption. So among all these leaders that I've mentioned, no one is free except Hari Kalaba, who I know to say has support of Catholic Church, is one of the candidates preferred by them, silent candidate who cannot be arrested by Hakainde Hichilema, perhaps because they are all SDA members, so they are giving each other chances. Whatsoever the case, I want to say my point was to protect God's ministry is what can save President Hakainde Hichilema from a political death. I said, yes, included in my appeal for making a covenant is former South African President Jacob Zuma, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, opposition South African leader Julius Malema, former President Barack Obama, former President Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and all other world leaders like Putin of Russia must come to accept that God is the creator of everything in the world. Then war and economical slavery designed for Africa shall be averted, giving room for the reformation to take place before Jesus Christ return to establish a community of peace. So here, I said the war will be avoided. This is a war that is economically designed, economically slavery designed for Africa. So the war in Iran is for economical war, for controlling the oil, controlling our natural resources. I've been referring to Venezuela President Maduro, who was kidnapped from his own home because of false allegation. And today, we think Africa, when it cannot stand against Donald Trump to protest, do you think Africa is safe? Africa is not safe. If Africa cannot stand with IBRAHIM TRAORE, you think Africa is safe? Listen to this protest that is taking place. Countries are protesting. UK is protesting against Donald Trump. And many cities in America are protesting. Washington, D.C. is protesting. And Africa is not protesting. Israel itself is protesting. protesting against Israel leader, protesting against Donald Trump. They say they are not interested in the fight against Iran because they know to say it is not of their interest. It is not helping them anything, but it is only establishing the colonial masters. It's what I've written in this book. Listen to it.
We all know that Israel and the United States launched this aggression against Iran with no real reason. They tried to pretend as if it was for the Iranian people who are indeed under a terrible oppressive regime, or it is because, like they say, call it preemptive war, which is to prevent an attack against Israel. That's a sheer lie, because this war doesn't serve any people, neither the Iranian nor the Israeli nor any other people. It's just in the interest of those in power against the peoples. This is a demonstration against war, against occupation, against war crimes. It is for the peoples, including the Israeli people. So don't go astray after those who try to manipulate and incite against us as if we were against Israel and the Israeli people. We are not. We are for the peoples against the governments.
Anger is surging against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at home amid the ongoing war with Iran, erupting into intense protests in central Tel Aviv. Demonstrators gathered at Habima Square, decrying Netanyahu's decision to continue military aggression and vowing to oppose any deeper involvement in the conflict. A member of the Knesset for the Jewish Arab Hadash Party, Ofer Kassif, said that the war was launched for no real reason and it reflects imperialist intentions of Trump administration.